All right, we're back with another CSE listed issuer update. Today, we're speaking with Jeremy Poirier. Jeremy is the CEO of Nexus Uranium Corp. It's on the CSE under the symbol NEXU. And of course, I'm Anil Mall, the host. Jeremy, thank you so much for taking the time this morning. I hope you're doing well.
Thanks for having me, Anil. I'm looking forward to the interview.
Absolutely. Jeremy, obviously I want to talk a little bit, the main focus of this conversation will be Nexus Uranium and what its goals are. But before we jump into that, I want to get your insight a little bit into the global and domestic uranium market. There's a lot of investor interest in it right now. What is the reason behind this?
Well, I think it's a few different reasons. If you look at the macro picture and you look at the world's appetite for continued growth in energy and clean energy, we look at climate change and some of the other macro themes that we have there. There really is only one way to really decarbonize the earth on a large scale, and that's nuclear. Solar, wind, those could be part of it, other clean energies, but really the only way to do it at any sort of scale is nuclear. And I think for a long time, some governments and environmentalists have really opposed that, but I think they're starting to understand that if we're going to actually deal with this issue we have, it's going to have to be nuclear energy. So, and we've seen the price move from low 40s all the way up to triple digits recently. It's had an amazing run, and I think that's a little to start.
Of course, there's a big defense portion to this as well. I was on your website and I seen a post that said, obviously, I'm sure everyone's seen it in recent news, but the agreement between Canada, US, and the UK to triple nuclear energy capacity by 2050. You have any insight into that?
Well, I don't have a specific insight into that. I think governments are always setting targets, as meeting them, sometimes not, or sometimes in between. But what I would say is, and I think you sort of briefly touched on this in your first start of that question, was, this Ukraine-Russian war, Russia and that area of the world does produce a lot of the rich uranium. So if we're really going to do this, like we say we are here at the West, and let's say Europe and Canada and the UK, we're going to need security of supply. So I think that's why you're really seeing, some of these domestic U.S. producers really move and increase production, or at least are in the process of increasing production, is because that's security of supply. And I think that's why we're getting a lot of attention in Canada as well.
I appreciate you starting off with a little bit of insight into this space. Now, main focus is Nexus Uranium. Why don't you give our viewers a brief introduction to the company, what you're focused on, the region, etc.?
Sure. Nexus Uranium was actually at one point in time a gold company. We raised about $15 million for a project in Nevada. We have a PA on that project, but a lot of the gold juniors have fallen on hard times. So I came in and said we had cash in the bank, and we said, why don't we take a look at uranium? And so we made the switch to Nexus Uranium, and we optioned a project in Utah. It's right next to Energy Fuels, which is one of the major U.S. producers of nuclear energy. So we'll focus there. We've also recently announced an LOI on a pretty substantial project in Saskatchewan. It's probably one of the last remaining large-scale projects in the Athabasca Basin, and it's had over $20 million of historical work done on it. Looks really, really exciting. So we haven't come to a definitive agreement yet. We're negotiating that. We hope to come to a definitive agreement shortly, and then ultimately we're excited to explore that property as well.
I want to focus a little bit on the new LOI with the Cre East Project. Before we jump into that, Jeremy, let's talk a little bit about the Wray Mesa project in Utah. Obviously, us being in the industry, we know that Utah has a very significant history when it comes to uranium production. I think it dates back to early 1900s. For our viewers that might not be familiar, can you maybe talk to us a little bit about the significance of this region?
Yeah, and, Utah's always been a very good place to do mining. This particular project has had a lot of past exploration on it, so close to 500 holes. We actually recently picked up another data set of a number of other holes, and we think by completing an engineering study, it's possible to get a significant uranium resource without even doing any drilling. Again. We've also heard that producers in the area are going to come out with different ore agreements potentially. So we see that as a pretty low cost and low risk project and in a great jurisdiction. So that's the reason why we chose to first enter through the Wray Mesa project.
And currently, actually it was last month or maybe late January. Phase 1 drilling was underway on that project as well. Any updates on that? Anything you want to mention?
We haven't actually started phase 1 drilling. We've been reviewing the potential of doing a drilling program. So we're just waiting to determine what's happening with Cree and how to allocate our resources.
Got it. So let's now jump over to the Cre East project. Give us a little bit of history on this this new LOI on Cre East, as well as the significance in the region.
Yeah, so it's right in the middle of the Athabasca Basin where you want to be. It's the most premier uranium production area in the world, there's not a lot of large land packages within the basin left. This is probably the last one that could turn into something really, really significant. I had a Korean conglomerate could do about $20 million worth of work, and they found some significant showings and all the different mineralization that you'd want to see for a potential substantial uranium discovery. So we've actually, the LOI is a proposed earn-in agreement with Canalaska, who's owned the project for quite a while now. So we hope to come to a definitive agreement, and then we think we have some really exciting drill targets.
Jeremy, it's obviously, a busy start to the year, and it seems like it's going to get busier as the year progresses. I want to talk a little bit about your background, Jeremy. How did you get into the space?
So I first started in the public markets about 20 years ago now on the financial side of things. I'm not a geologist, which is, I know, maybe a little more traditional route. And then I moved on to a project called Pure Energy Minerals, which was a lithium project. And then after that, Bearing Lithium, which was a substantial lithium project in Chile. So both projects have now sold to multinational companies. The Pure Energy project was sold to Schlumberger, and the project in Chile, which had about $50 million worth of work to it. We took it all the way to a definitive feasibility study. Was bought by Codelco, which is one of the world's largest copper producers. So I've had some success, and lithium, which I think is a mineral of the future. It's going to be part of this decarbonization effort. It's going to be part of this electric car effort, this battery effort. I think uranium is much the same, right? As I touched on, these electric cars, they need energy in order to charge them. And if we're getting that energy from coal power plants or burning oil, that is again not helping the emissions situation. So that's why I'm passionate about uranium. So some of the same reasons I'm passionate about lithium is I think that it's a mineral that we're going to need to have a bright future for our future generations.
And of course, the company has a very strong board and other team members. Any significant team members you brought on board that you want to comment on?
We have two very senior geologists on the board, directors, Warren Robb and Ben Hinkle. I'd like to highlight their experience. Warren has experience in uranium as well. So I think the technical people are very, very important on any project. And I think we have two world-class professionals.
With this new LOI, what are some of the milestones that viewers can look out for from you and your team in the coming months?
I don't want to touch too much on the actual agreement until we've signed the agreement, but I think they should look for us to sign a definitive agreement here in short order. Is the plan? We have to come to an agreement, but I'm hopeful that we'll be able to do that, and I think that'll be significant. And then at that point in time, you're looking at potentially a summer drill program or a fall winter program. So which would be very substantial.
based on what you've just mentioned to us and talked to us about, we always encourage our viewers to go to your website, do their due diligence, of course, read up on your projects and your team members, but also to sign up for your newsletter, your press releases, and even reach out to you and your team should they have questions. Where would you like to direct our viewership?
I think the best place to start is probably our website, nexusuranium.com. You can, and from there, we have all the different social media channels. You can also search for them, obviously, online, but we have Facebook under Nexus Uranium, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram. So, we have all the different social media channels. You can find them on the website or just on the web. And that contains all of our contact as well. We're happy to chat and to handle any questions anyone has.
Jeremy, our team at the CSE wishes you and your team at Nexus nothing but success as you move forward in this path in 2024. I look forward to hosting you on again in the next little while where we can talk a little bit about progress and some results. To everybody watching and listening, you've been hearing from Jeremy Poirier. Jeremy is the CEO of Nexus Uranium Corp that trades under NEXU on the CSE. Jeremy, thanks once again.
Thanks for having me, Anil.